Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast, helping higher education marketing leaders share knowledge about learning, strategies, and tactics that are relevant today. See what you can learn today by listening to one of our episodes.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Higher Ed Demand Gen podcast hosted by Concept 3D. In this podcast, we like to discuss topics on creating and capturing demand in higher education. A little bit about Concept 3D. Concept 3D helps bring your campus to life virtually. We've served the higher education community for over a decade with our award-winning interactive maps and virtual tours. Improve your campus communications, student engagement, and recruitment with our powerful location-based virtual solutions. My name is Shiro, and I will be your host today. I am the Director of Demand Generation at Concept 3D, and today I am speaking from my home in Silverthorne, Colorado, which is a small mountain town about an hour west of Denver. And today I am super excited to have Lindsay Nyquist join us. Lindsay is a higher education leader with a plethora of experience in higher ed marketing. She has a background in creative communications, lots and lots of different positions. And she's currently the Director of Marketing Communications at Fort Lewis College. Lindsay, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Shiro. Thanks so much for having me.
My pleasure. And do you want to start us off with one fun fact before we get started?
Yes. Fun fact about me is I've gone skydiving twice and bungee jumping once.
Wow. That's crazy. I was just thinking the other day, I think I was watching a video on YouTube and I asked myself, do I ever want to do this? And I'm still unsure. Do you recommend it?
When the opportunity presents itself, you'll know.
Which one was skydiving less scary because you've done it twice now?
I think it's different because it's so your brain can't really accept what's going on, so you have no point of reference. So in some ways, it's like you're much more out of your body. Bungee jumping is much more real life. Like your brain knows it's wrong both ways.
Got it. That's crazy. Well, that's really thrilling, and maybe someday I can tell you I've done it. Awesome. Well, I know on our previous call we talked a lot about a lot of different things, but I think one thing that really stood out to me was Fort Lewis College and what's really unique about their story. I'd love for you to dive in a little bit more about that.
Yeah, for sure. So Fort Lewis is a 4-year public liberal arts school down in Durango, Colorado, so pretty much on the opposite side of the state from where Shiro is. What's really unique about us, I think, is our student body. So we are a non-tribal native serving institution, which means that we are not associated with a specific tribe or reservation, but we serve a bunch of Native American students. And that's because we have a Native American tuition waiver, which is part of our history and an original charter with the state of Colorado from back in 1911. And it means that our Native American students do not pay tuition. They do pay other costs like fees and housing. But it really just brings so many unique and diverse, interesting viewpoints to our campus and this really rich cultural heritage that I think is different. We also have about 42% Native American students in our student body and about around 11 to 13% Hispanic or Latinx population. So we are a minority-majority institution, and I think that just really has an effect on who we are as a space for people to learn. Another really interesting thing about us is just our location. So we're in this very remote and rural location in Southwest Colorado, which is close to Four Corners. So we're right sort of where the mountains meet the desert and the river runs through town. So there's just a lot of really interesting geographic parts to our landscape, and that has a huge impact on our curriculum. So we see a lot of our different majors, whether it's, an art class or a biology class or a business class. The way that the landscape can impact the curriculum is super interesting. And I love seeing how our faculty take advantage of that every day.
That's amazing. Does it mean your faculty get outside and enjoy the environment as well?
All the time. So both in their personal and professional lives. Fort Lewis College actually owns a river company. So we have a program called Fort Lewis on the Water, or FLOW. And so that means that students can take all kinds of river trips as part of a class. So anytime, let's say a geography class wants to go out on the Chama River to explore the geography of the Riverside, they can do that as a part of something that's completely internal to Fort Lewis.
Amazing. And I think in our last call, you mentioned that the Native American population is a part of the student body that is growing, right? Was that correct? Oh,
Yeah,
year
I
over
mean, I
year?
think it has been growing year over year. We're just really excited to have that and to
Right.
be able to grow that. We
Is
are trying to increase some of our student body in the state of Colorado because we are a public institution, but we're
right.
just really excited to be able to welcome all those students to our campus.
Amazing. And within that demographic, are you seeing just increases in? Are you capturing more demand from other competing schools, or are more students going to universities for the first time or getting higher education for the first time?
It's kind of hard to tell. I think one of the what we are seeing in the higher ed landscape is a lot more institutions offering tuition waivers or free tuition to Native American students and Indigenous students. And so, but how I think Fort Lewis stands out is that we really have a lot of resources in place to support Indigenous students. So we have a Native American and Indigenous Studies major and minor. We have a powwow that we host on campus as part of one of our student clubs, Wanbli Oda. We have a Native American center. So I think it's not just about the tuition piece, but about providing cultural support to these students. And some of them, are coming from some of them are maybe coming from an hour away. A lot of them are coming from Alaska or from just really different places than here. So just being able to offer that support to them has been really helpful to us.
Wow. Okay. So you're not only, creating financial aid incentives, but you're building community and putting belonging as a part of the whole picture is kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's what we do for all of our students. We're a very student-centered, the main strategic pillar of our strat plan is students at the center. And that's something that translates in every single department on campus. So we're really trying to look at, what students need, and that's every single student. So we've been making changes across campus, really, I mean, the pandemic definitely jump-started a couple things, but also just ongoing. We have to look at this generation, how they were affected by the pandemic and what support they need. And so we've just started a student well-being department that's going to kind of serve as a no closed doors or sort of part of our campus. So students can go there, get hooked up with any sort of resource they need, whether that's, basic needs, if it's food security and housing help, if it's mental health and getting connected to our counseling center, if it's, accessibility resources and getting, the learning supplements that they need. So we're really looking at how do we help every single student and meet them where they're at.
Gotcha. And that's really, really interesting to hear. Does that prevent students from, they can go to one place for a lot of their needs as opposed to having to navigate, where on campus or off campus?
So we did that with sort of what we call the business of being a student in maybe about 3 years ago. So it used to be, if students had to pay a bill, they'd go to one building. If they had to go see the registrar, they'd be somewhere else. Financial aid was somewhere else. So we centralized all things related to the business of being a student in a single building on campus, sort of a one-stop shop called Skyhawk Station. And now we're sort of looking at that for the mental health and basic needs as well. So how do we centralize all these things that students need? They're not quite all in the same building yet, but we at least have one place where the students can go and get that, whatever kind of support they need to get to the resources they need.
That's amazing. And you're really, what I'm hearing a lot is, meeting students where they're at, not opposed to where higher education has created a standard.
Yeah. It's such I think it's a big twist over the last couple of years of higher ed used to have a lot more elitism, and I think that's just it's not a helpful approach to have. And so we're really trying to, our current leadership is just so student focused. They're not attached to how things have always been done. And we're really open to looking at, what can we pivot right now to make a difference for students today?
Amazing. And I know we talked a little bit about results, it's hard to create models that directly attribute everything, but I think you're mentioning you're seeing some really big incoming classes. Can you share a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, we were pretty fortunate throughout the pandemic. I mean, all institutions had some struggles, but overall we did really well. We were in person on campus almost the entire thing, other than the end of spring 2020. So I think that helped. And I think just what Fort Lewis has always been, which is this in-person, small class sizes, small institution that provides those personalized relationships. That's becoming more valued, I think, in this mid-pandemic, post-pandemic world. I know we're not allowed to say the pandemic's over. But we actually did see in our fall 21 class was the largest first-year class we'd had in 17 years, and we had our largest overall class in 5. So I know a lot of institutions are struggling, and we're all trying to improve all the time, but we've been doing pretty well, and it's exciting to see that we're able to, again, support students in the way that they want to be helped and give them these opportunities, like we believe in our students, we know they can do great things, and we push them to do those things and to challenge themselves.
Love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Switching gears just a little bit, maybe looking now at the opposite side of the spectrum, which is, you've really worked your way up from the ground as like a website manager, and you're now in this position. And I think there's a topic you're really passionate about, which is leadership. And you're also talking at an AMA symposium coming up in November as well on this topic, right? I'd love to hear a little bit more about your leadership advice. I think some questions I had were like, how you build a creative team, just given your creative background, just to start.
Yeah, so I will be speaking at American Marketing Association Symposium on Higher Education this fall, which is in Baltimore. I'm really excited about that. And my topic is leading a modern creative team. And it's just something that I've just always been really passionate about. And the group that I am lucky to manage is just motivating to me every day. So it's something that's exciting to me. I think that managing creatives is really different than managing other types of people, because you want to give them that space to grow and to be truly creative, but while still hitting deadlines and staying on task. So, there's so many parts to it. One thing is just, my leadership philosophy is really tightly tied to the Kim Scott book, Radical Candor. So, being really open and honest with each other, and trying to take our egos out of the equation, looking at what needs to happen for the institution rather than what we want to do as individual artists or creatives. So I think that's an interesting part of it, that it takes some finesse to figure out, and to figure out how all of my staff are, how they perform the best creatively. Some need more space and time to themselves. Some of them need to be in a collective, collaborative space. One thing that our department did over the summer was we had been spread all over campus. As you know, campus space is always a huge issue. But this summer we were actually able to all move into the same hallway, and just the amount of creative collaboration that we've been able to do since then has been mind-blowing. So I really encourage people to do that to the best of their ability, even if you have staff that are somewhat remote or hybrid. I think that's been really helpful for us. And just, being able to give real feedback to people and have challenging conversations. So I think just leaning into that and accepting that everybody's gonna still bring their own personality to it, but making sure that we end up with the right final product that is what the institution needs is really a good sort of guiding star for us.
That's amazing. And I know, did you, when the pandemic first hit, did you see just it was really difficult to communicate? Was that an issue? Because I'm sure you went remote or hybrid for a little bit, or can you tell us a little bit more about that?
It was definitely hard. I mean, one of the big things was so much of our workload just transitioned to doing crisis comms constantly to keep our students and faculty and staff aware of what was going on. Gotcha. So I would say, maybe 20 to 35% of our work pivoted, which was really challenging because it's not the most fun work to do.
Right.
But just because staying connected, obviously there's Zoom and Teams and things like that. But even in the pandemic, we tried to still connect personally. So one thing that our team likes to do in the summer is go outside and play bocce on campus. And so we weren't able to do that anymore. So we would meet at a local park and do that, and wearing masks outside, keeping our distance from each other, but still just having a little bit of human interaction was really important to us.
That's amazing. And, that's all a part of what you were saying, being able to keep that open line of communication, being transparent and honest. Love that. Another topic we talked about related to leadership is, as a part of marketing, I think it's a growing department within higher ed, or it's a department that's certainly trying to grow. it's really hard to sometimes get alignment across the board, across different departments. I know it takes a strong leader to help support that, but also there's some tactical and strategic things you can do to help create that alignment. And I'd love for you to share some of that as well.
Yeah, so we were, our department has grown so fast in the last several years. When I started at Fort Lewis about almost 15 years ago, I think it was 1.5 people that did everything.
So it was just you and half a person?
No, I didn't even come in marketing. It was somebody else.
Oh, really? No way.
It was unreal. And then slowly growth throughout with different priorities and different leadership. But our current president really prioritizes marketing and understands the power that it has to affect enrollment, to affect, external media. And so we have continued to grow in a responsible way, so that we are all very busy all the time. But that's been really great to just have the resources that we need to get the work done that's expected of us. As, a lot of the things I was talking about earlier with, focus on student success, communicating that out takes work, whether it's on social or email or websites. It all takes a lot of building pieces. So we've been really fortunate to get more resources, both human resources and some financial. And then a big part with sort of, reaching out across campus and getting alignment from departments everywhere. Even we're a small college and we still have 600 to 650 employees. So in the late teens, we noticed that we were, everyone on campus said exactly what they wanted to about Fort Lewis College. So we were getting ready to do a website audit, and the people we were working with were like, we can't really redo your website until you all know who you are. So we unexpectedly embarked in a brand rearticulation project with a great firm called 160/90 and worked with them really closely. And they, came to campus, really got to know who we were and to help us articulate that in a more consistent way. So now we have a really clear brand style. And just sort of that process of getting a bunch of people interviewed and aware of what a brand is really helped us. We did a big brand rollout in about April of 2019, and it just changed overnight. I think we stuck with it. We got people excited about the brand and about how they could contribute, and we're just seeing so much more consistency, both from the things that even within our department we're seeing more consistency, but we're seeing stuff across campus, and people want to be a part of the brand now. They want to make sure they're doing it right because they see the power of it now. And that's just made such a huge difference for us.
Got it. And, do you think that's helped with the impact of what we kind of talked about earlier today, which is, you're seeing big incoming classes year after year, you're seeing good results. Yeah. Do you think there's some correlation or alignment there?
Yeah, because we're more consistent. I mean, it was embarrassing, honestly, when this firm came in and just pulled a smattering of, advertisements, print pieces, websites, digital ads. And they were just like, look at all these different things. And we realized, just within our department, we were all over the place, design-wise and, messaging-wise. And so to really be clear on that, whether it's sort of your brand architecture and your pillars and your tone words and things like that seem really cheesy and very jargony, but there's really some power behind that. And then also having a very consistent visual brand has just caused such a difference for us.
Did you go through like a color change or a logo change or mascot change? No,
none of that. We kept the same mascot, but had a new athletics logo, maybe around 2009 or 10. But yeah, colors stayed the same, logos stayed the same. It was really just, what do our graphics look like? What are our key fonts? What's our secondary palette? We did define that better. And just the fact that someone new can come on board, we can, or, a new vendor that we start working with, and we hand them our brand style guide and they immediately understand what we're doing. That's just amazing.
That's really interesting to hear how impactful, like when I think rebrand, I think, new logo, right, maybe potential new colors and new accents, but you're really just, it's one step down from that, but it's created so much benefit for you. It's great to hear. Something we're working on, honestly, admittedly. So
it's ongoing too, because, it's been 3.5 years now. So we're starting to think, when do we go through this process again? We actually just, this spring, we completed a brand perception survey. And that was really interesting too, because we wanted to see, how is this going to how has all the work that we've done made an impact? And we just got so much good information. This year we surveyed current students, faculty, staff, and high school counselors. So really getting perceptions from people who know us pretty well. Got some great reassuring data that shows that their new brand really did stick and people are paying attention to it, but also found some gaps. There's always continuous improvement. Our work is never done, so we're starting to address things. What can we do on a marketing side to address those gaps? And I shared this all with leadership to say, what can we do to address gaps on, student services or in academics. So that's been really helpful, and we're excited to keep up with that. We're going to survey prospective students and families this year and alumni and donors the year following.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge, and it was great having you on today. I was wondering where our audience and listeners can connect with you.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Lindsay Nyquist. I'm almost the only one on there. And you can find information about Fort Lewis at our website, fortlewis.edu. See what we're up to and what our brand looks like. Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us today. And for our listeners, please join us on the next episode. We got another good one coming to you. Thank you.